Cloud, I've been expecting you. As I divulged to you before, despite being a loyal employee of Shinra, I seek to destroy the company from within. It would mean my life if anyone knew I was conducting this research. Hojo's madness is clearly rubbing off on me. He is the reason I pursue this research. I want nothing more than to be free of him. I cannot go into details, but I can say that it is complicated. For now, I need to focus on my research and nothing else. And if you haven't guessed, it is none other than you, Cloud. Were we to unlock your tremendous potential, we would have the strength to destroy both Shinra and Hojo. So please provide me with new battle intel and assist me in my research. I will pit you against virtual enemies constructed from the data you have provided me thus far. When you feel that you are ready to begin, please proceed to the newly reconstructed combat simulator. Hone your skills against these constructs so that we may stand together against Shinra.
Alright, so here we are in the Chapter 17 Shinra Combat Simulator on fucking hard mode. We're going to be doing the three-person team versus Monsters of Legend. You can tell that the enemy roster is complete except for battle number 5. Some of you probably know what that battle is, but I'm going to leave it a mystery for now. I tend to go with Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith for my team. That's a personal choice, though. You guys have probably encountered a couple of bombs up to this point, so this battle is more of a warm-up for this particular set of fights, just to get into the groove of things. Hit it with a lot of stagger-heavy abilities. If it becomes inflamed, stay the fuck away from it for a little bit. Most of the damage that it dishes out is fairly negligible, except for its inflamed abilities. You can avoid most of those by just attacking it at its ass, though. So, you know, just do that. Instinctively, a lot of people are probably going to want to go, hey, it's a fire enemy, let's equip some ice or throw some ice at it. It's not weak against ice, so don't even bother.
You're good at this.
The next fight, though, picks up the skill a bit. It's Tonberry.
Deal with that.
I would stay at a medium distance, not too far, definitely not up close for most of the battle because of how his abilities work. You can stop him and sleep him, but you can only do that once per fight with him. I tend to hit him with level 3 fire, Viagra, or Viaga, whatever the fuck it's called.
Take the lead.
I got this.
And that way it'll bounce him, put him on the ground, and then stop him while he's laying down. So by the time the stop wears off, it still takes another 5 or 6 seconds for the animation to let him stand up, so you have the chance to prepare.
Just in case.
Again, use a lot of stagger-heavy abilities until he's staggered, and then, you know, digging his butt.
Don't overdo it.
Watch yourself. Here goes. Tagging out.
Take it over. Here, keep it together.
All set. Give him your all.
Try to have every person in your party equipped with chakra and revival materia so that you can self-heal and bring back anybody that you need to. Be very sparing with your MP though, because since this is hard mode, items are not on the fucking table anymore. Can't use items. And your MP only replenishes by 50% of its total at the start of each round. That can be helpful, but sometimes it's just not enough if you're in a very raise-heavy match, which this can be.
I'll show you what I can do.
The Chi Trap is a good Tifa ability to use because it allows her to continuously hit this motherfucker while not actually having to be there. I find that equipping elemental fire to Cloud's sword is a good bonus. Most of these enemies have a weakness to fire, or a weakness to nothing. So having the elemental fire on Cloud, it doesn't cause any negative at all.
Hope you're ready.
Your summons should be Fat Chocobo, Bahamut,
You're up.
and Leviathan, because all of their summon abilities are non-elemental. Leviathan's ultimate is wind, but
Get him.
again, that doesn't really matter. Nothing has a resistance to wind as far as I know,
Why don't you
so...
lead the way? Okay, now I'm mad.
And Fat Chocobo's non-elemental ultimate is enough to take out like a third of Tonberry's entire life bar, which you'll see here in a second. Now also, don't worry if one of your characters, one of your party members, is dead at the end of a round. At the beginning of the next round, they'll be resurrected and given 50% of their, HP total.
I'll show you what I can do.
Now, this is Type 0 Behemoth. Most people who see him in this battle arena at first are going to be caught off guard. Much like Tonberry, though, you can stop and sleep him just once. That's what he's a greater resistance to sleep and stop, which is what that means. You can hit him with it once. I tend to go after his tail immediately to try to cripple that. The attacks he does with a crippled tail are significantly easier to deal with than the attacks he does with a crippled upper body.
You've got this.
Taking over.
Okay, let's go. I'll take care of him.
Most of the Behemoth's claw attacks are fairly meaningless, especially if you have the Iron Maiden equipped for the armor of at least one of your party members. That'll put your physical defense well above 125, so most physical attacks are going to be meaningless to you. I mean, they'll slowly chip away, but it's not a big deal. Now you can do, I don't know if you know this yet, but you can do Unbridled Strength 2 times in a row, and then combo your triangle attacks with Tifa, which is kind of cool. So when you do Unbridled Strength, it'll take it from the Whirlwind attack to Omni Strike, and if you do it again, it'll take it from Omni Strike to Rise and Fall, and then you can just hit triangle 3 times and do a little mini limit break. Now, you can choose when you're crippling a body part for the Behemoth here, with Cloud anyway, you can choose to do triple slash or focused shot or strike. The triple slash will go back and forth between the multiple targets, and the focus strike will just hit the one that you're focusing on. Ha ha ha. I tend to go back and forth between the two. That way when I go to the next body part, there's already some of its stagger and HP on the line there.
It's on you.
Now, this is also personal preference. When I play, I actively switch between all the characters and try to control all 3 characters as much as possible. You don't have to play it that way, obviously. You can just use your L2 and R2 when you notice their gauges are full and just use their abilities and let the computer handle your basic attack function and movement. Now, I don't like that because the computer almost always tends to leave the character in a certain comfortable spot. And that also happens to be the spot where you're going to take the most fucking damage when this thing gets pissed at you, which it inevitably will. The downside to doing that is that you have to constantly switch between each character and know where they are and what they're doing when you're not playing with them.
Calling fire.
And then this is, say, fire 3. And counter flare comes up right away and hits for somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 damage. It's not fun to get hit with, so just don't bother hitting him with any attack magic at all. It'll just fuck you over.
Let's be smart. Don't overdo it.
And of course, if you're ever unsure of what to do, you can always just default to chakra and give yourself some fucking life. Your MP usage has to be very strategic in these fights, though. Like I said, you can't use items, since it's hard mode. And your MP only replenishes at a very fucking slow rate. And the Soul Drain ability that Aerith has only gives you 1 MP on hard mode each time you do it, so it's almost not worth it unless you're really 1 MP away from something and have an ATB gauge to drop. Which you'll see me do that quite often because I'm very offensive in more ways than one in the way that I fight. So I tend to, you know, that works out fine until the point where it doesn't, and then when it doesn't, it's usually a pretty ugly situation. You know, 2 characters dead, the last character has like 1/10 of a bar left, no MP, and you gotta somehow try to fucking survive out of that.
I'm coming.
But hey, that gives me a more informative and detailed video to pass on to you guys.
Tagging out.
Taking over.
I got this.
When the lower body is crippled and you see the behemoth do that handstand, try to get at least 2 rolls away, and the area of effect damage won't hit you. But you have to get at least 2 full rolls away. If you're even a little less than that, see, watch, you're gonna get hit. Also, try to go to the front of the behemoth. It's not a full 360. There's like a mute spot in front of his head for most of his attacks. Tail, horn, upper body. Also, if you break his horn off, his counter flare doesn't work anymore. So then you can hit him with magic. Usually by that time, he's damn close to dead, so it won't make a difference anyway. But I figured I would, you know, pass that on. See, everybody's got a decent amount of MP except for Aerith, and their life isn't all that low, so just killing them. And there it is. A little bit of fire on his tail there. Now, you're going to want a bit of a reprieve after that fight, probably, but you're not going to get one. They're going to mix round 1 and 2 together. Instinctively, you're going to want to go after the weaker bomb first. Don't do that, okay? Go after Tonberry and get as much damage into him as you can. Try to use as many area of effect attacks and keep the bomb close. So you're focusing on Tonberry, but you're doing damage to both enemies at the same time.
I'll show you what I can do.
Most of the damage, like I said previous, most of the damage that the bomb does is pretty fucking negligible. So Tonberry should be your main focus. If you need to, though, you can switch over to the bomb and build your ATB gauge up real quick from a distance, and then switch back over to Tonberry and use your gauges. Along with switching between character to character, and then switching between enemy to enemy, it can get kind of chaotic, so I don't recommend doing that a lot. But if you need to, you can. And of course, your stop and sleep will work on this round, but it only works once. Now, unfortunately for me, every time I try to do Fiaga, he kills me. Oh yeah, you can dodge that. If you dodge the first one, you'll have to dodge 2 more in order to get him to stop throwing it. But what you gotta do is roll away from the attack, but toward Tonberry at the last possible second before it hits you. And you should be able to get out of the way of it. Also, if Tonberry misses a death attack, he takes increased stagger. And here's that situation I was telling you about. Fortunately, my Aerith has revival earrings on, so it wasn't that bad this time.
It's your turn.
See, now that both of them are at about half life, I switch over to Bomb just to get rid of his ass. Because at this point, your life totals are below half, so that little bit of damage he's flicking at you is enough to fuck you over at this point.
Deal with that.
Almost every time my Cloud tries to cast a spell, I get cancelled. And be prepared for that to happen too. You really, when you're fighting 2 enemies like this, you really have to pay attention to what both are doing when you go to cast something that takes more than a second. And there was the warding and subversion materia on Cloud, keeping him alive through that instant death match.
Can you take over for a bit?
That's what happens when it's not mastered. There's only a 50% chance that you won't die when he hits you with it.
Can you fight? Right, watch yourself. I'm coming.
Need to heal up. It's on you.
I got one more shot. You ready? Keep it up. Let me teach him a lesson.
Staggered motherfucker, make sure that this is his end run.
It's your turn now.
Get rid of that fucking bomb once and for all. There. And now we just gotta focus on Tonberry.
Keep it together.
There it goes again. Trying to bounce the little green bastard, and he sees it coming every time I try to do that with Cloud.
I'll show you what I can do.
He's slow, but you know, that Tonberry, he's a crafty little fucker.
Don't overdo it.
Let me. I'll do what I can. Can you handle them? I got this. Shake it off, okay? Watch yourself.
My turn. Going in.
Well, like I said, if one of your party members is dead at the end of a round, don't panic, because at the beginning of the next one, they'll be brought back with 50%.
Be careful.
And odds are, at this point, your MP is pretty fucking low. You see mine. When you die and get brought back, your MP is put at a third or a quarter or some shit, so you actually get an MP gain for dying if you look at it that way. And there he is, the Malboro. Now, if anybody who's watching this has played the original Final Fantasy VII, or I think any Final Fantasy, you know what the fuck this ugly son of a bitch is and what the move Bad Breath does. But for those who are uninitiated, it puts you to sleep, it stops you, it turns you into a toad, and it poisons you, all at the same time. And usually it does this to all 3 of your fucking party members. So after that, you're pretty much fucked. And there's no ribbon in this game, as far as I can tell, so there's no way to really protect against it. You can protect against the poison stop and slow, but you cannot stop yourself from being turned into a toad. And you can't use items, so once you get toaded, you just gotta wait it out. Unless you were thoughtful enough to equip a mastered cleansing materia. Which at this point in the game, I have one, but I still have yet to use the cleansing materia, except for the storyline shit in Walmart. So I didn't equip one. But attacking the Malboro from behind is an ideal strategy. You'll see the bad breath start. When it does, get behind him or get the fuck away from him. That's really his killer move. If he hits you with that, then you have full right and you should panic. But if he doesn't hit you with the bad breath, then he's really not that big of a fight. You can also prevent bad breath and the ability for him to eat your party members if you just beat him in the mouth when that target pops up. That'll stop all that flat out. But, and here's a big fat hairy but, for anybody trying to get all the enemy skills in the game, and as far as I can tell, there are only 4, you have to get hit with bad breath in order to get it. Also, there it is. There's the bad breath. And Tifa was the only one who did not get hit. Now, see how Aerith has like no life? My plan is just to let her die. When she dies, all the negative status effects will disappear and I can just raise her and she'll be fine. Now, if you can't do that and you don't have a cleansing materia, you're just gonna have to let the dude sit there as a frozen, sleepy, poisoned frog until he turns back into himself or herself. And that takes like a full minute.
Can you fight?
His poison attack really isn't all that strong, so I don't even worry about it.
This one's for you.
Trying to use as little MP as possible, since I have like none left. Now, while you're a frog, you can attack, but you can't use any of your attacks or abilities. You're forced to use Leapfrog, which is this weird jumping dive bomb frog attack, or you can use Bubble Breath, which is literally blowing a little like froggy snot bubble at the enemy. Or you can smack him with your tongue. None of which will do very much damage at all. So I recommend that if you wake up and you're still a frog, just run the fuck away until you turn back into whatever the hell you were beforehand. I use Regenerate on everybody a lot. Always healing with Magnify. Because there's no MP difference between doing it for everybody or doing it for one person. So, you know, if you're gonna cast a healing spell, just cast the fucking thing on everybody if it doesn't cost any more to do it.
Sorry, but you handle it. One more shot.
Game's pretty much And that should be it. Right here.
Can you handle them? That's a win.